Right, everyone, good morning. Welcome to Wednesday's morning briefing from the Celtic Way with Hamish, hello, and John.
Good morning, everyone. Is that cheery enough?
How are we all? Are you in a cheery mood?
I'm a wee bit cheery. It's just a shame that people go on about, it's a much better schedule for Celtic, etc. And I'm just here left. Where's the midweek game, Hamish? Where is the midweek
I
pick me
know.
up?
No, I'm totally with you. I mean, I was even, I don't know if it was with you or one of the other guys, but a couple of weeks ago I was saying I could do with a wee break here because the games are just coming thick and fast. I would do anything for a game tonight, even a friendly in Ireland like we had earlier on in the season against Sligo, something like that to get my teeth into. Regardless, there's things happening. We've got a big game on Sunday we can chat about. Just before we get started, this Celtic Way video is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com. You can upload your CV there today. They've got thousands of jobs across Glasgow, Edinburgh, and the surrounding areas. You'll find the one you need at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. What's on your mind, John?
What is on my mind? I'm just thinking ahead to this double header we've got at Celtic Park, and I think the atmospheres are going to be exceptional. I think there's a lot on the line for all the teams, and I'm just looking forward to see Celtic get stuck into it, really. I think Sunday has the potential to be an absolutely brilliant Scottish Cup tie.
Yeah.
And I think Hibs will play their part. I think Celtic will play their part. And I think both sets of supporters. I mean, as you know, I think the news is that Hibs have sold over 6,000 tickets, probably going to sell almost their full allocation of 7,000. I mean, that's pretty incredible. And I think it will add something to this fixture on Sunday for me.
Yeah, we're 4 days away from kick-off, so you would think they'll sell. I think they had less than 800 tickets they announced last night, so I think they're going to sell it out and have 7,000 fans, which the biggest away support we'll have seen at Celtic Park in 7 years. And I can't ever remember a team not called Rangers having as big a support as that at Celtic Park. I don't know if you can, if there's been any instances.
There's been various cup games over the years, but I don't think anything approaching 7,000. I think that's new territory in my recent Celtic history anyway. Obviously, back in the day, there's probably plenty.
Yeah. And it should bring the best out of the Celtic support as well. It's not going to be guaranteed on Sunday that we're the ones being heard. So hopefully we get a big crowd in. I think it'll be a sellout, won't it? Certainly in the Celtic end, given that it's 53,000 we have to sell and it's such a big game for us. So can't wait for it. So yeah, everyone, we're going to chat a bit about that today. There's a few other things as well. Let us know how you're feeling. Are you enjoying the rare midweek off, or are you like me and John just counting down the days till we next see Celtic in action? So yeah, we're in a good place. It's a double header coming up, triple header I would say, because Hearts as well at the end of the month. 3 games at Celtic Park, 3 enticing games, and if you win all 3, you're looking even better for a treble. So how do you think the team are going to be going into this period where we maybe don't have as many distractions?
I think it'll be a benefit to the team. I think Brendan Rodgers, I think there's no sense of complacency in the squad. I don't think. Obviously they had that Easter Road, but I felt like that was more in reaction to what happened in Munich rather than Celtic really letting their foot off the gas. I think there's been certain issues in performance that Rodgers has flagged, but I think when you're not playing at your best and then you're still sticking 10 goals in 2 games, I think that is a sign that the team is ready to, progress forward. Like I said, against Aberdeen, against St Mirren, there were issues in the performance. There just was, and the way Celtic started those matches wasn't ideal. But I think, when you have players in rare scoring form, and then you have players coming off the bench like Yang just approaching his top form as well, then the firepower that Celtic have, I think, is just going to be too much for these teams. And I think the rest will suit them well. I believe they had a couple of days off, or a day or so off from training, etc., before returning to prepare for the Hibernian game. So yeah, I think that will serve them well. I think we'll see the best version of Celtic between now and the end of the season, which is pretty exciting. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I feel the same way without repeating myself too much. The kind of recent evidence of Celtic when we go to week matches is that the team hit a bit of form. You think how good we were at the start of the season, and I know part of that is that we had such a strong pre-season, and the pitches are at their strongest at the start of the season, and it was largely the same 11 that was starting every game for the first several weeks of the season. But some of the football we played earlier in that campaign was brilliant. And at the end of last season as well, when we came through that difficult period, around about this time of year last year, we were starting to find our form. We ended the season so well. And I kind of see no reason why that won't be the case again this season. Like, I don't really have any concerns about Celtic on the pitch. I know that might age horrendously going up against a team that haven't lost in 15 games and won 11 of those, by the way, Hibs. So a really good side. But I just think Celtic will fancy this on Sunday. And it doesn't matter if Hibs come and play well, 15 games unbeaten, they've got some good players. If Celtic fancy it, nobody domestically, nobody comes anywhere near us. And I just think we're going to fancy it. Like, that's the thing about this team. You don't get the impression, again, I'm speaking ahead of Sunday, but you don't get the impression they're going to turn up and go through the motions. Like this team peaks at the big moments. Sunday's a big moment, and I think they'll fancy it big time.
I don't think you can. I think the occasion will take care of itself on Sunday, in the sense like Celtic won't be going into that game cold because it is such a big game. It's a knockout game. There's peril in that sense, but obviously 7,000 away supporters. But the good thing about having 7,000 away supporters, it doesn't just create a good atmosphere. You know, it's fun to send 7,000 people away unhappy on the day. You know, that's what football
is. There's an edge there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's an edge to that, and I think that the players recognise that and want to perform for the Celtic support to give them that, you know, those bragging rights over Hibs coming from Edinburgh through to Celtic Park. And we don't often talk about this in Scottish football, really, because there's, like you've talked about this week, there's just such a big gap between Celtic and Rangers and the rest of the Scottish football. But I enjoy it when there is an edge to these games. Like, that's what Scottish football should be. That's when it shines most, I feel like, when there is that edge in the game, there is that kind of rivalry. Obviously, I wouldn't say Celtic have a deep-seated rivalry with Hibs, but I think 7,000 of their fans coming through from Edinburgh to Glasgow, I think it does give the game a different feel to almost all of our other domestic games this season. And I think that's something that the players will relish, and that's something we should all relish, to be honest with you. This is what you want Scottish football to be, is this game on Sunday.
100%, and listen, I can't wait for the game to happen. I think the players will feel like that as well, and that's what adds to a lot of my confidence. We've had a prediction already, John.
Oh, nice.
Christopher's going early, going with a 4-2 win. Goals from Maeda, Kuhn, Engels, and Yang. Henry McClarson saying this is where we come alive. That's something Brendan Rodgers has said a fair bit. Paul, is it Sunday yet? No, Paul, Wednesday we're at the moment. Les, I've just rewatched the Dyson chip goal versus Dundee again. Pure magic. I'm expecting us to beat Hibs in a similar fashion, 5-1. Remember that Maeda goal? That was a belter against Hibs. I was probably about 20 games ago, but yeah.
That's a contender for goal of the season for me. I think, like I've said before, I was joking at the weekend. I don't think I've been on since the weekend, but I was joking that Dyson Maeda should get the Oscar, the Brit Award, every award going, goal of the season, player of the year. Just give him every bit of silverware, every bit of gold going, because I think he deserves it. He plays with such personality, such joy, puts a smile on everyone's face, and yeah, he's my best actor Oscar for the year.
Does our team pretty much, is our team set for Sunday's game? Is it what we've seen? There's question marks over Austin Trusty. Potentially some sort of concussion or something there. I tend to think maybe not, but I'm sure we'll hear from the manager. I know Liam Scales looked like he took a sore one later on in the game, mm-hmm. So interesting to hear if we hear more from Brendan Rodgers on that. But hopefully Trusty will be available. I'm trying to think if there's any other kind of worries. James Forrest still coming back. Paulo Bernardo will still be out.
Yeah, the only other one was Callum McGregor had a slight knock on his calf, I think, as well, which I don't think is going to be a big issue, but it's just something. It's just something else that happened in the game. So we'll find out more about the team on Friday, I suppose, when Brendan Rodgers gives his press conference. I think it was interesting though, the midfield, the way the midfield closed the game against St Mirren with kind of Arnie Engels dropping into that kind of deeper role, which I thought he was pretty good at, to be perfectly frank. And it's just another one of those things. Like, obviously, McGregor's almost undroppable in this team, but if Arnie Engels can play that role competently, then that just gives Celtic a bit more rotation option. Obviously, Paolo Bernardo injured scuppers that a little bit, but I mean, there's Jude Bonner in the background, and there's other, there's players in the background that could come in, and so I'm interested to see what the midfield look like from the summer. To be honest with you, because there's a lot of chat about there might be a fair bit of change in that midfield in terms of maybe Rio Hatate leaving, etc., etc. Obviously, nothing concrete, and that's just rumours at the moment, speculation, paper chat, etc. But it will be interesting to see what that midfield looks like from the summer onwards, and what kind of blend Brendan Rodgers will go with. Paolo Bernardo will be here. I'm expecting Arnie Engels to still be here, and then you have Callum McGregor. But I think you need that alternative option to Callum McGregor when we're thinking about progressing in Europe and taking a next step in Europe. I think that would be a big thing for the team.
Because it's kind of widely been accepted, and we've been linked with Lennon Miller again this week, and it's clear that someone the club are interested. It's been widely accepted, I think, that for Miller to come in, someone would probably have to move on. And clearly, as you say, you're looking at the other four midfielders who aren't Rio Hatate, and you think pretty sure they're all going to be with us next season. They all have real unfinished business at Celtic, I would say, the four of them. Hatate, been here 3.5 years, potentially he could be one to move on. But I also wonder if we could easily function with 6 midfielders next year. So if you were to sign someone like Lennon Miller, again, I'd need to find out more about him. I've never properly sat and watched him for a game, but it seems like he could maybe play in that McGregor role, and possibly, he could have a different dynamic to that midfield. McGregor's so important to what we do, what we've done for basically the past decade. But I would like to see from time to time different options in there, because I think there's been a couple of times this season. I agree with you, the end of the St Mirren game. There was one near the Christmas period. I can't remember. I think it was either Motherwell or St Johnstone at home where McGregor missed. And I thought the midfield worked really well. And I'm not for a minute saying Celtic are stronger without Callum McGregor, but I'd like occasionally just to maybe see a different combination in midfield. So, yeah, I think the midfield's interesting because, as you say, 4 guys probably going to be with us next year. Question mark over Hatate. I know there's been reports last night. It's basically nothing really to it. I would say that to people. Don't get too caught up in some of the language that's been used about Hatate kind of saying he wants to leave. I don't think that's the case at all. However, he might still leave. So what's your kind of gut on that?
I mean, my gut feeling would be that it would be a natural time for Rio Hatate to maybe move on to a new challenge. That's just my gut feeling on it. As I say, I mean, I've been a big fan of Rio Hatate. I think he's offered Celtic something different and unique over the years. But I think, if he feels like now the time is right, and then Lennon Miller's coming on the market, I'm a big fan of the Lennon Miller concept of moving for him. I think he's an excellent, considering his age, he's taken to senior football so excellently and so assuredly and confidently, and doesn't just have that personality, but also has the ability, the technical ability to perform in midfields in Scotland, which is a combative position in the Scottish Premiership, and Lennon Miller's shown that he can deal with all of that. So I would be a fan of that kind of transition this summer. Some people will say, "Oh, you're getting rid of Hatate and bringing in a Motherwell player," but for me, I think that seems like a logical step or a common sense approach to the midfield, and then I would probably be thinking about bringing in someone else on top of Lennon Miller. So if Hatate left, it would be 2 midfielders coming in the summer. That's the way I would look at that in terms of building the squad depth that Brendan Rodgers wants. He's talked about his ideal squad size being about 25 players. I think they're a couple below that at the moment. And so if you're bringing in maybe a forward, a midfielder, then you've obviously got Kieran Tierney and whoever the other left back is. Suddenly, I feel like the squad's only 2 or 3 steps away from being a complete, proper squad for domestic football and for Europe. That's how I view it. I mean, only 2 or 3 away, and I think Lennon Miller can be part of that. And I wouldn't want to see Lennon Miller leave, because I think some of these Scottish talents have left over the last decade or so that Celtic have, I wouldn't say missed out on, because how much were they in for them really? I think obviously John McGinn, they were in for that, has been well established, but and there's Aaron Hickey, there was Lewis Ferguson, etc., have all gone on to have decent careers in one of the bigger leagues in Europe. And I think Lennon Miller obviously has the potential to do that as well. And I think Celtic can't. I think Celtic shouldn't and can't miss out on this Lennon Miller. If the opportunity is there to go and get him, and Motherwell have an asking price, I think Celtic should go and get him and think about the future of this midfield. That's my gut feeling on it.
Because it's like, again, people might look at the fact he plays for Motherwell, but there's just been so much hype about him, and you listen to like players who play with him at Motherwell, and obviously they're biased to an extent, but they only have good things to say about him, and they always talk about like his game intelligence. And I think he's off the pitch as well, really kind of his representatives are really good, whether it's his father, Lee Miller, or whoever else. Like, I think he's taking the right steps, and he'll want to play wherever he goes. And I just think moving to Celtic for him would be a great move. And yeah, I mean, not to compare him to a certain player who's one of the best in the world, but just in terms of like the club they started at and moved on. I mean, Jude Bellingham starts at Birmingham and goes to Borussia Dortmund. And I guarantee you there was Borussia Dortmund fans going, why have we signed a player from Birmingham? And, look, he goes on to be a star for them pretty quickly. So obviously different levels to the game. But I think from what you hear about Lennon Miller, I think he would be very capable of taking that step up, playing with better players and becoming a bit of a star for us. I'm 100% sold on it. I've heard enough from various people about him that should be a good move for us to make.
Is that an exclusive there? Celtic YouTubers tip Celtic to sign the next Jude Bellingham. Is that where we're going with that?
Yeah, it'll probably be online shortly. Here, some people are struggling a wee bit this week, so that'll probably be clipped up and stuck online. Yeah, well, I agree though. We're not far away. We're not far away from having a really good squad. I mean, that I just can't. I spoke about this earlier in the week. I can't get that Bayern Munich game out of my head. The performance. I caught myself watching the highlights again, and someone else was bringing up that. Who was it earlier? Was bringing up Bayern. Jerry wants some pay, and he's saying, good game on TV tonight, Munich and Leverkusen. I can't bring myself to watch it, Jerry.
I feel sorry for you, because I just don't have that. I was just like switched off from it immediately. I was obviously disappointed, etc., but it's not one I let linger in. No, it didn't linger with me, shall we say. It's just the way I
positively though. I'm saying it's lingered with me positively,
right?
Because,
okay.
Because the performance was so good.
Okay,
so I'm like, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking that the first team is very good. What we need is players that can come on and impact the game at that level. And Lennon Miller potentially could be one. Henry McClassen say we're in danger of pinning our hopes on a teenager. Henry McClassen doesn't seem to be a fan of Lennon Miller. I've seen a few comments in there. Don't know if you're a Hamilton fan or something. What else have we got? Steve's asking us, do we start Kuhn or Yang on Sunday? A few weeks ago, it would not have been a question, but Yang has a goal contribution every 27 minutes over the last 6 games he has played.
I fully respect the Yang thing. I fully respect that he's changing people's perception of him. And I fully accept that he's been a very strong, impactful player off the bench in recent matches, but I'm not throwing Nicholas Kuhn out the team at this stage. I understand that Nicholas Kuhn is maybe not quite hitting the heights that he was early in the season, but he's just still such a dangerous player. And I think Yang has just been so good coming into the match, in that second half, that you get the best of both worlds. Then you get Kuhn starting the game, and then you get Yang potentially, adding threat in the final half an hour, 20 minutes. So for me, it's Kuhn. I understand the question. I don't think it's a ridiculous talking point, but just for me, I think Nicholas Kuhn is just still obviously has that extra bit of quality. And this is a massive game, and I don't think you're really messing about with what your strongest team is. And then obviously you've got the impact players coming off the bench if you want them to do that. So for me, the front three against Hibs would be Maeda, Jota, and Kuhn for me. I don't know if you'll go with Ida. I don't know what you'll do there, but that's the front three for me. And Yang is, again, I'm not having a go at Yang. I just think he can be a big, impactful player off the bench like he has been the last few weeks.
So do we just need to kind of hold the hype a little bit and just see it over a longer period from Yang and gradually could become a starter?
That's kind of my approach to all of this, because like, if you're too changeable, you're just thinking, well, he's a dud, no, he's a superstar, no, he's a dud. Like,
that's I've never really fan, mate. That's a Celtic fan. That's what we do.
I've never really subscribed to that way of thinking. I think Yang is making good progress at Celtic this season. I would say that, and I think you can't really deny that. But I think in terms of like a long-term future at Celtic, he needs to, players need to do this over a course of months and can be consistent with their contributions. If it's just a flash of 3 or 4 weeks here and there, then at Celtic, that's rarely good enough to establish yourself as someone who's going to stay at the club for a number of years. So Yang needs to do it consistently, and hopefully it's not just a flash. Maybe something has flipped in his brain. Maybe he is dealing with life in Scotland better. Maybe he is dealing with Celtic training better. But I'm not parking the brakes on what he can achieve at Celtic. I'm just let him keep building this, because if we start to hype him up too much, if he has a misplaced pass in an upcoming game, people will be right back, oh, I told you, Yang wasn't as good as everyone said he was. And I don't really subscribe to that way of thinking personally. So, that's just the way I see it.
No, I mean, Brendan Rodgers won't think that way either. He won't be getting too up or down on when Yang was struggling a bit. He was still coming on occasionally in games, and now that he's played well, he's been talked up clearly. But I don't think Yang's going to start on Sunday. I think he'll come off the bench and be an option there. The Ida stuff is interesting for Sunday, interesting for the rest of the season. Because my sense, my gut again is that probably Maeda will start through the middle. And I don't know if you can really argue with that. I mean, I was thinking earlier today, Maeda's actually, since Kyogo left, Maeda's probably been an upgrade on Kyogo, which is a wild thing to say. But in terms of how Kyogo was playing, and Kyogo still scored, I think, like 15 goals or something this season. But the way Yang's playing, we've really not missed Kyogo at all, which is crazy considering we didn't sign a striker. Maybe everyone just should have trusted Maeda to do the business.
Well, listen, I was one of the ones saying Celtic. I still think Celtic should have signed a striker to replace Kyogo. And I was one of the ones, saying that quite vocally. But you can't deny that Maeda has been exceptional and kind of stepping up into, fulfilling a role that we needed him to fulfill. Because with Jota coming in, we're well stocked on that left. And Rodgers was quite adamant that he would be happy to play Maeda there before he started playing him there. Just noting his time in Japan at Yokohama under Ange, played as a central striker. I think he was top scorer in Japan one of the years. And obviously in the early stages of his Celtic career, was utilised in that centre forward position from time to time. And he just became such this unique threat on the left-hand side and built up a really strong partnership with Greg Taylor that I think people can't take him away from there. But you can, clearly, because I think he's operated either on the left or through the middle. I mean, he's been all over the pitch. He doesn't even play on the left. He plays everywhere. That's the way I see Maeda. He's kind of, it's not a free role, but it's like he's just everywhere because he's got the engine and the work ethic to kind of be everywhere all at once. That's the way I see him. He is where the ball is. He's chasing the ball. But the thing about chasing the ball is like it could be done so unintelligently that it exposes deficiencies in the team or it's easy to play around. But I think he presses the ball so intelligent. I think it's an underrated aspect of his game. Like, it's not just his physical attributes, which are obviously immense, but he's got a real intelligence about when to press, when to chase, who to put under pressure, when to go after the goalie, when to put the heebie-jeebies up a defender. Like, he's got that instinct in him, which I think is a big asset. I don't think you can deny that this season Maeda has contributed more than what Kyogo contributed to Celtic. It's just undeniable. He's been an absolute superstar. He's been Celtic's best player this season for me. And yeah, he has been an upgrade, if you will, on what we had through the middle previously, for me, right now, at this moment.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I just loved his goal at the weekend, like because he'd. I don't know how late it was. I think it was past 80 minutes, wasn't he? And he hadn't scored yet. And you were thinking, God, is this going to be one of the first games in a while that he's maybe not scored? And I can't even remember if he had many chances. But that goal he scored was just brilliant. The touch and the first touch initially, and then did he knock it through a defender's legs or something like that and slid it in? And like, I mean, you're right to everyone talks about obviously his energy and his sprints and all of that stuff, and I think his intelligence is something that is overlooked as you're talking at pressing the game, also knowing where the ball is going to go, and the fact that we talk about scrappy Maeda goals, and that's a big thing. It's almost become a bit of a running joke, but part of me thinks that they're only scrappy because he like leaps onto mistakes and he knows where the ball is going to go, and a lot of players just wouldn't even get near that and not even score scrappy goals. So I just love the guy. To be honest, I'm quite happy in saying I've always loved him, even when he was a bit frustrating. I've always loved him, Daizen Maeda at Celtic, because he just, all we ask for really as fans is give your absolute all for the team and show quality, and he's doing that. What can you say about him?
I think you're right to point out like his anticipation is obviously excellent as well. I think one of the issues with Maeda over the last, like, just sometimes his first touch has been a bit off, or it's been like he's been a bit scrappy in that, but he's really tidied up his game. Rodgers spoke a lot about bringing efficiency to his game. He's really tidied up a lot of it. It's not just his finishing, it's like all aspects of his game. He's much tidier with the ball now. Even that first touch for like that you're talking about for the goal at the weekend, like I'm not sure if he does that 18 months ago. You know, I think he's got a bit about him at the moment. I think he's really loving life at Celtic, and long may it continue.
Right, okay. A few people pointing out that Kieran Tierney came on for Arsenal last night. I can't actually find the comment, but I think he came on for the second half for Arsenal. They had a narrow victory over PSV. I think 7-1 it was for them in the Champions League. So Tierney came on, Plunge saying he came on at the left wing, and the fans were raving. They want him to stay. You do kind of have to pinch yourself that we're signing a player who's coming on for Arsenal in the Champions League. But I guess that's the kind of affection Tierney has for us, and a unique set of circumstances that have led him back to Celtic. But counting down the days for that, talking about the left, Schlupp and Jota working well together. I mean, Schlupp's a big player to watch for me for the rest of the season. I really like what he's brought to Celtic so far. I think he's been a great signing so far.
High standards, that's what he's brought. I feel like he's just got high standards about the way, about the way he prepares for games. Obviously not seen him in training, but you just get that vibe off him. I think he's got strong standards in the way he approaches the game. Like, he doesn't take any massive risks, but he's also not afraid to show a bit about himself either, which is the perfect blend that you need. And, you know, just talking about Tierney there, I mean, Tierney's another one of those players that you can get behind, you know, regardless. And I think, you know, he's had his injury struggles at Arsenal, but I don't think he's ever become a hated figure there. You know, people have always kind of rooted for him. He's got that about him as well. And again, that's what you want as a football fan. You want to have players that you can get behind and that you believe in. And whether it's Maeda or Kieran Tierney, I mean, I think, you know, those are players that you can get behind and believe in the way they play football, the way they go about their business. And I know Schlupp, like you're saying, I just think he's brought a bit of class to that left-hand side. Again, he's another player I want to see over the course of a couple of months, the consistency, etc., etc. But the way he took his goal at the weekend as well was outstanding. It was a really good finish at pinpoint, and we know he's got that in his locker as well. So I think Schlupp's just one of those players who's played at the highest level for so long that he's just got high standards that in the Scottish Premiership make you a standout player in the league.
Yeah,
basically. That's just how I feel about Schlupp. So yeah, I'm delighted that he's in the team at the moment.
Yeah, you can see why he's had a good career in the Premier League. He's kind of not really got a weakness, does he?
No.
The referee for Sunday, by the way, Nick Walsh.
Okay.
VAR is Kevin Clancy. And just finally, Steve, just to follow up, saying it was nice to see Kuhn smiling and embracing Yang after full time on Saturday. Great team spirit. I would start Kuhn on Sunday too. So that's all well and good. What's on the website at the moment, John?
We've been speaking to Jude Bonner's former coaches just to get a sense of what his traits and potential are. As he was coming through the grassroots system, so we've gotten that on the site as well. We've just been taking a look at various issues around the club, like the financial model of the club in comparison to. I think you talked about this with Ryan on yesterday's video. We're going to be having a closer look at Lennon Miller as well over the next 24 hours. We've got stuff on Yang, we've got stuff on analysis on Celtic's press, and Brendan Rodgers has been speaking a lot about Celtic's pressing of late. Alan Morrison's done some stuff on us on how good Celtic's pressing is and where it can improve, etc., etc. So we've got lots coming up on the site. And I know you're off for a couple of days, so I'll be on the briefings doing what you're doing, hosting.
Good stuff. Well, I hope that goes well, and please tune in, everyone. Plenty of build-up to happen between now and kick-off on Sunday. But for now, yes, John's right. We'll head off and catch